Hi there, welcome to the Barbara Young channel and welcome to my Friday Sews. And as I always start by saying thank you to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for creating the hashtag Friday Sews, so we can all get together on a Friday and let everybody know what it is that we have been up to. And well, what have I been up to? Now, I have actually made something this week. I've been rather slow at making it, but I have managed to get it done. Basically, I went thrifting and found this dress to upcycle, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'd taken the dress, taken it apart and turned it into something else. I'll put one picture in of the dress, but I'm not going to show you too much because I've actually done a separate video for this this make. So all I do is I'll quickly hold it up and just quickly show you it. And there we go. And it is, well, it was a dress, but now it's a nightie, believe it or not. Like I say, I've got a separate video coming for that, so I'm not going to show you any more, but that was quite an enjoyable little make. I took my time to do it. I didn't rush it. I thought about what I was going to do and try to make it effectively as simple as I could make it. And hopefully that is what I've managed to do. I say that when that video comes out, obviously if you are subscribed to me and you've got that little bell icon clicked, then you will get a notification of when that happens. Okay, so that was the first thing that I did this week in regards to getting stuff done. Now, last week I said that I'd been practicing my Nalbinding, or in English, needle binding, and I've had a go at trying to do a different stitch to what I had originally started with, and what I've created is another pair of mitts. There we go. Basic fingerless mitts. They just you know, they're basically a tube with a little gap in it for the thumb and a hole at the other end for your fingers. So that is basically it. Not much more I can say about it really. They're fingerless mitts. I'll try to show it to you. But there we go. See, this has got quite, and I don't know what this stitch is because there are apparently hundreds of different stitches, and they're normally named after the place that they were found first archaeologically, because the Nalbinding is an older craft, predates knitting and crochet, so obviously the references for it are normally archaeological in context. But yeah. So, you know, and this stitch, whatever it's called, for all I know, it's one that I've just completely created myself. But I imagine that it must be something like this somewhere in the records. But this one's got quite a flat feel to it. Well, the first one I did seemed to have a lot of bumps and ridge, and it was quite loose. This one, as you can see, it doesn't have much give. It doesn't stretch much, which is great. It's something that you want in some fingerless mitts. You don't want them stretching out all over the place. So I thought that once I'd worked that out, it was quite good. There's a bit of stretch that way in the length, but crosswise it's really quite a tight stitch. So that's really great. So yeah, one pair of fingerless mitts using the craft of Nalbinding. Something I'm looking more and more into as I'm doing more Nalbinding. I'm trying to look to see more about it, so maybe if I manage to find out some more information and stuff about that, I'll be able to talk about it a bit more in the future. But yeah, there we go. One pair of mitts in black. I know you can't see it very well because it is in black, but yeah, that is a nice stitch. It sits nice and flat, and it keeps its shape well. So yeah, I like that. Brilliant. Fingerless mitts. There we go. Now, recently, well, not too long ago, anyway, I started to do knitting, started to learn knitting. I say start to learn knitting, I mean, I'd had a go at knitting years ago. I mean, years and years ago. And then did it a little bit and then stopped, and then picked it up again very briefly and then stopped, and then let's just say decades ago I put it to one side and didn't touch it again. But more recently, probably in, I know, the last 6 months, I think it is something like that. 6 months in the last year anyway. Let's just go for last year. I decided to have another go and start trying to do a bit more knitting and get back into it. It is a craft that I enjoyed when I did do it. So I bought some needles, I bought some that are brand new, and I bought some that I've thrifted, and I've given a couple of pairs of needles and a few other bits and pieces, but not a lot. Don't want too much, I don't want to be overwhelmed by it, so just pieces here and there. But I finally decided there were a couple of tools that I did want, because I didn't have them, because sometimes when you buy your wool, it comes as, I believe it's called a skein, which means it's wound round, but it's not in a ball, like you can get most of the time you go to the shops and you buy a ball of wool. But if you buy them from where I have, off the internet, they come as a skein, or that's how I call it, and that's what I believe it is. But sometimes you need to put that into a ball. So I bought a couple of tools. So the two tools I've got, I mean, sometimes there's tools everywhere, isn't there? But that's another matter entirely. Let's not get there. Is one of these things. It's called a Swift, I believe. Basically, you clamp it onto a table, and then you sort of set this, put your yarn round it, and then move it up until it's got a certain amount of tension on it, so it holds it out in a nice shape. And then you can reel it off and take it off into balls. So you'll have a ball of wool, especially if you've got a bigger, I suppose, skein of wool, and it's a bit too big and bulky for you to be able to take and have as one ball. Perhaps you need to break it down into maybe 2 or 3 balls of wool, or whatever it might be. So yeah, so I got that. That was the first thing I've got, which obviously means I need its accompanying partner, which is the winder. So obviously you have that, you put your wool or yarn around that, and then you draw it off into a ball using the winder. Let me just put this down. There we go. Of which, of course, that clamps to the table, and again this one clamps to the table. You just put it on there and it'll clamp, and then just use that. You've got this little arm, which then the yarn will come off of the Swift, come through there and onto the winder, and then you just wind it until you make a ball of wool, and then you just slip it off and use it, you know. But obviously one with the other, you do need both, I suppose, really, to be able to make full use of these two tools, having the winder and the Swift. Now, I have to admit, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on these, so I bought the cheapest two that I could find. And now, believe me, they are cheap. They are both made in the Far East, so I don't know. I mean, you can get some of these things and they can cost an arm and a leg. I've seen some of these winders for £100 and the Swift for, like, you know, 50, 60 or even £100, and it's like, whoa, you've got to be serious at your knitting. You've got to really want to be doing knitting a lot to want to spend that sort of money. So no, I haven't spent anything like that. And I say I looked for the two cheapest items I could get, and they're it. Really, that's what I got hold of. So but yeah, hopefully that'll allow me to take, when I do get wool, if I do buy it and it does come not in balls, I can then more easily take it off, put it into a ball, and be able to use it much more efficiently rather than have it getting into a big mess. So there we go, that was my purchase for the week. I'm not going to say how much I spent, other than I bought the two cheapest. Now the next thing I want to talk about is actually not craft related at all, really. It's actually, when I've been out thrifting, I've noticed that in some of the thrift stores they have obviously more than just clothes and stuff. They have bric-a-brac and other things and ornaments and whatever else, and some crafting materials and accessories, but they also quite often have a little bit of music. And every so often I do find the odd thing when I'm looking through that I like, that I'm interested in, so I do buy some things. I'm very much into music. I really do love listening to music, and I listen to all sorts of music. Everything from maybe a little bit of classical to some pop, maybe a little bit of jazz thrown in there, but I particularly like things like my rock music, and I'm very much of the age where a word I'm not very keen on, but I'll use it anyway, grunge music, some people call it. I don't call it that, I call it rock music. The Seattle music scene was a really big thing for me when I was younger, but I like that rock music, lighter rock, also I call American rock or classic rock, but everything else in between as well. There's lots of other genres of music that I will also listen to. But while I was out thrifting recently, I did find a CD, and I thought I've got to get that because I remember the artist and I remember a couple of the songs the artist did. So I went and got it, and now the CD is an album called Relish by Joan Osborne, and I don't know if anybody else will remember that, but there were quite a number of songs in there I quite liked. I think there were a couple on there that were actually released as singles, but that was, let me have a look. This album was released in 1995 on the Polygram Records. So yeah, manufactured and marketed by Polygram Records. There we go. And the artist is Joan Osborne, and the album called Relish. And I saw it and I thought, I've got to have that, I'm going to get it and have a good listen to it. That cost me 50 pence, believe it or not. A super artist, really lovely voice, like I say, and I really enjoyed listening to that. So that's put another album into my music collection. I'd say that's just one of many albums I've got. I've actually got quite an extensive collection, I suppose, for modern people, and I'm one of these people that like music in their collectible form as a CD or vinyl. I don't buy vinyl very often, not very much, but every so often I will get something, but CDs are a really good format for me to have, and you know, they're not that big, but I do like to have the actual original, the material, you know, the actual CD in my hands. I'm not one of these people that do a lot of downloading or anything like that at all. It's just not me. Perhaps it's just my age, just shows that that's the sort of thing that I would do, you know. But I thought I wanted to mention that just to say that, you know, every so often thrift shops are not just for the craft and stuff. Sometimes there's a nice bit of music in there as well. So there you go, that was my week. Not a lot happening really. I managed to get through a couple of makes, a nightie and a pair of mitts. As I said, the nightie video will be out hopefully early or mid next week sometime, but if you're subscribed and you click that bell icon, you will get a notification of when that happens. Okay, so there you go, that was my week. Makes and a few items bought and something thrifted, which is brilliant. So there we go. Not much else to tell you about life wise. It's just another slow week for me, as it always is. So there we go. I think that's it for me. That's all I've got to say about. So if you like this video, please do click the like button, subscribe. As I say, click the bell icon, you'll get a notification when my videos come out. Please do comment. I do love reading your comments. It's really nice to see what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, and also what you might be up to and what you've been doing. And if you wish to comment between yourselves, please do, because that's why we come here, isn't it? To make that connection with each other. So I think it's just left for me to say thank you very much for watching my video. I look forward to seeing my next video. Bye.
Upcycled.